Hello everybody, welcome back to Catch Up Court TV. I go by the name of Hines, and I don't know what's going on with the background of mine, but yes, welcome back to Catch Up Court TV. I go by the name of Hines, your friendly neighborhood Catch-Up man, and welcome back to another episode of the Catch-Up Court podcast, where we do daily recaps of ongoing trials. We have been covering the Nicholas Kassotis. I could never ever say his name properly, but the Nicholas Kassotis trial, we've been covering that since its inception from day one, and it's got really spicy today. I mean, they are turning up the heat now. We are getting to the end zone, I believe is a right sports analogy. We're getting to the meat of the case. But before we go into what happened in court today, let's give a little bit of recap and go through the background of this case. Nicholas Kassotis has been charged and accused of dismembering and murdering his wife, Mindi Kassotis, and this is why we're here today. Apparently, he had dumped her body at a hunting club, and also dumped different parts of her body at different locations in the same vicinity, but like at least 600 feet. But that's the background. But when they got to court, crazy things happened, and you can get a bit more of the background from day one recap. I have linked the playlist to all the other recaps that we have done that you can catch up on to go through a bit more detail of the background of the case can be found on day one recap. But on day one, let's just recap through day one to day three so that we can understand how we got here in day four. So day one, that was when the opening statements was done, and the state and the defense presented their theory of the case. The prosecution decided to let the defense go first, and they basically theorized that Nick was living in fear. Nick and Mindi were living in fear. He lied to a lot of people because he believed that this person that went by the name of Jim McIntyre was from the. I told him he was from the FBI and his life was in danger, so they had to go into hiding, and they didn't really give much information in regards to the hiding. I'm guessing they were just presenting an overview of the case. They also theorized that he was just lying to protect his family because their lives were in danger. And he also says that Nick was not moving around the country because he had a judgment against him from his former marriage. I believe I could get the name wrong here, but I believe her name was Samantha. I don't know. I don't know. I could have the name wrong, but he definitely the theory has been out there that he had a first wife, and there was a 1.5 million judgment against him. So he also says Doug Weinstein also theorized that he was pleading more so that the jury should pay attention to Mindi's death and how that occurred. So the prosecution took up their theory of the case and basically said that, hey, that she was found dismembered in a hunting club, and they theorized that Nick was the one that purchased a knife from Home Depot, purchased shovels, and also Nick admitted to being on the scene. They also theorized that the head was found 5 days later, and they also theorized that they found a shovel that was bought from Home Depot and that belonged to Nicholas. They theorized that Nicholas had means to carry out the murder because he basically had money with him, and he had lied to his parents, and Nicholas he had lied to his parents about going to pick up his wife when the wife was already dead. So she also theorized that Nicholas had remarried and changed his name in multiple states to avoid the money that he was owing to his first wife, and they also said that Nicholas had burnt his Ford Explorer. So that was the theories of the case presented on day one. It was wild. So we know that there is a lot coming in this trial. So day one was just a formality. They had David Lovett, who was the hunter. He came in to testify in regards to the torso that he found. And Anthony Brown was the police officer on the scene when they found a torso. That was the bulk of his testimony. Philip McCullough was the other hunter. I believe he found the leg. So and then we heard from Brett Dickerson, whose testimony ran to day 2, and he was a special GBI agent, and he basically just gave testimony in regards to the procedures in when they collect evidence, how they collect evidence, what to look for when collecting evidence. The theory that has been presented so far, well, it is, well, not theory, so let me not say it like that. The way that the prosecution has been presenting that their case so far is to show that they were very meticulous. The officer that I mentioned earlier, Anthony Brown, he was showing the hunters that they were all asking the names, all of them that he took statements from, showing the time that each officer got there, etc. So I missed out John Murphy. He was the retired K9 officer, and he was the one that was responsible for the cadaver dogs. You can get the full breakdown of these witnesses on my day one catch up. You can go find that. You can find all of the catch up by clicking on the Catch Up Court podcast. It should be in the description. But anyway, let's move on to day 2. We had, just so that you know, around 21 witnesses has been presented so far, and they're all state witnesses so far. So we had Brett Dixon back on day 2, and he was basically cross-examined on that day, where I believe he made a bit of a mistake. I went through that he didn't pick up the some of the trash, that he overlooked some of the materials he could have picked up for further DNA testing. Lindsay Smith was a special agent. She gave damning testimony in regards to her preference for some materials to be to have been collected. That was, in my opinion, very good for the defense. In my opinion, Kelly Lawson, who was the forensic artist, that was the one that commissioned. She was the one that done the artist for the press release that they did. We went through that on day 1. Peter Hershey was the salesperson, the person that sold Nicholas is Ford Explorer. I believe the sale date was June 2022. Then Dean Glover, Publix, he was the person that brought in the CCTV from the hunting club, that reservation. Then Brittany Grisham, the forensic toxicologist, was the one that was analyzing the alcohol level of the body that was found, of Mindi's body that was found. Then it was Keith Lamar, the medical examiner, to basically show the extent of the decay, what they could even extract from the body, in terms of analyzing, in terms of determining the cause of death. They only could determine that it was trauma injuries caused, and they determined that it was definitely a homicide. So that was Keith Lamar's testimony. Michelle Shepard, this was on day 3. Michelle Shepard gave testimony. She was the forensic DNA analyst, and nothing much really stood out from her testimony. Then James Frost was the lead investigator, and I remember yesterday, we went through this yesterday, I was hoping that James Frost was gonna play the interview. They didn't play the interview, so I was like, okay, maybe they're gonna play it with Sands, but I was really hoping it was done. And now I can see the strategy that they left for Sands to play it after they have presented the witnesses that they have done, because after James Frost, it was Vaishnavi Kare, who was one of the B&B owners for when they were staying in June, and she testified to a replacement rug that was found when when what's his name again? Nicholas Kassotis, my bad. Yeah, when Nicholas Kassotis or Nicholas Stock, the one thing that I just realized that could have been important, that maybe I missed it in testimony, but I doubt it, I would have wrote it down. But the prosecution never asked whether he booked the name or the BNB. If I'm wrong, correct me in the chat, but or in the comments if you're watching back on replay. But they never asked her whether he had booked the Airbnb by the name of Nicholas Stark or Nicholas Kassotis. So I thought, based on the testimonies that I heard, that kind of popped up in my head. I was like, wait a minute, did they actually ask that question? It was under his real name. Thank you so much, Trial Channel. I appreciate that. Hello everyone that I hear. Welcome. I see we have some new faces. Jay Stolly, I appreciate you for joining. And Queen Olive, I appreciate you. Hello, I just found you yesterday and told my sister who needs updates like this. I'll see if she watches. I appreciate you for getting the word out. I really love that. Thank you so much, Queen Olive. Rufan, I hope I'm saying that right. But yeah, I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you're telling people about the channel. If you're doing that, you are a true MVP and a true catch-upper. You have a special place in my heart. Thank you so much for letting people know. But let's continue on with the catch-up. So yeah, okay. I did make that mistake. I'll rectify it now. It was under Nicholas Kassotis' real name. So that was established here. So now that I understood that, the fact that I didn't want to get ahead of myself, because now, because day 4 is where the name becomes very, very relevant. Witness 15 was Tara Ransom. She was the forensic biologist of the GBI crime lab. She was just the one that done testing on the totes, and she couldn't find the tubs that was found, I believe, on the scene. I believe it was on the scene, but she couldn't find any DNA on it. Then we heard from Betsy McBain, who was Mindy's mother. Personally, she gave a whirlwind of a story that I thought, yes, it was very good for the prosecution, because we got to hear a time of death that was very close to when they found the bodies, and it was Nicholas who told her that Mindi had died. So Betsy, who was the mother, found out that Mindi had died, never saw the body, never went to the hospital, but she was told that she had died of stroke. Then we heard from Frank McBain. He was told the same thing. The most important part that really stuck out from his testimony now is the fact that he had hip replacement surgery. That is going to become very key, and I have some theories, well, not theories, but some thoughts around that. Really, really insane. The way that he ended yesterday, that was insane. I personally thought, like I said yesterday, that because these guys are really religious, it kind of makes sense why they were reacting the way they did, why they were so trusting of Nick as a person in doing all of this. But that was that was day 3. Now let's move on to day 4. The witnesses for day 4 was Dr. Edward Mondor, who was the entomologist. He was the one that done the. He was trying. We're gonna get into his testimony, but anyway, Dr. Edward Mondor, Morgan Paddock, who was the friend of Mindi, Samantha Kolesnik. I butchered that name. I know I have, but our last name was really difficult. But she was Nicholas' third wife, probably the most important. Well, not the most, but really up there with key testimony that was given today. Then we heard from Tracy Sands, who was the lead investigator, Mr. Tracy Sands, and yeah, so that's the witnesses for this week. Today, and that's all the recap for all the events that have happened this week. So it's been mad. It's been mad, and it's gonna get even more wilder. Let's go into Dr. Edward Mondor's testimony, the entomologist. Let me try and find it. Hold on. Okay, so he gave testimony in regards. He explained the role he played in the case. He also says he was stressing a lot that you can't determine a time of death from his analysis, and his job basically was to try and determine insect life when they were starting to eat the body, because maggots were found on the body. Something that he said today that I didn't realize that was also found on the body was fireflies were found on the leg as well. So he was using all of that to try and estimate at what point that they were coming, that they were starting to feast on the body. So he testifies that the range of time that these bugs could have gotten on the body would have been 27th, 28th, and 29th of November 2022. And what I thought was really smart from the defense, from the prosecution, was the fact that they highlighted when the torso was found, when the leg was found, and when the head was found. So I can't remember him doing any analysis on the head. I don't think so, because he did testify that when the body is buried, it's very hard to analyze for insect life or something along those lines, if I'm recalling properly. But that was the essence of it. I'm not gonna lie. The cross-examination for him, as much as I was giving the defense a massive credit for how they handled Lindsay, for how they handled day 1 and day 2, Lindsay Smith, for how they went through and highlighted that she could have, that even they were desiring to have a bit more information, but yet because of likely due to short staffing, they were not able to get through that issue. So that's a state issue that they were trying to show, even though he was doing all of that good jobs in regards to the Clorox wipes, in regards to showing that he was neglecting key materials that could basically find DNA on it. I felt like this cross examination was underwhelming, because end of the day, it didn't affect the substance of his testimony. It didn't really affect the date that it was found, because end of the day, if there are maggots on the body, you would assume that it's been there for at least, we're going by layman jury understanding. Layman understanding would be, okay, it's been there for a while. The only thing that I think him highlighting that probably helps the defense in some way is, well, when did he dump the body? Because from what I understood, the vehicle was found at the Hunters Club on November 29th, 2022. So that's when he dumped the body. And based on the opening statements, that the prosecution gave, he didn't really do a good job of dumping the body because it was found immediately. But it makes me think, was the reservation closed off on the 30th of November? So the 30th of November, the 1st of December, and the 2nd of December. That's 2 days before the body was found. That's what I was thinking. Well, it can't have been that obvious because it would have been found, especially in hunting season. It would have been found really quickly, and it kind of makes sense why Doug was highlighting why Doug was highlighting to the hunter that it was hunting season and everyone had known to basically come down. So how did they just miss those 2 days and they found no body? So that's something there. That is something that is in their arsenal to argue should they put on a case, if they had to put on a case. The trial channel says he only examined the maggots taken from the torso where a leg was cut off. He also examined he examined the maggots, and he also examined a species of blowfly because he noticed insect activity on the thigh. That's where the blowflies came from. So he also examined that area. But that cross examination just left. I didn't think much of it personally. It didn't move the needle, because if the maggots came on the 1st, that would still mean that it was out there for a while. Even if the November theory was wrong, it came from all those times. It still doesn't mean that the person literally died on the 27th or to the 29th. It just means that there is a likelihood that the maggots started living. From my understanding of his testimony, it's likely that the maggots were living from the 29th onwards. From what I understand, maybe the 1st. You can argue that, but I can see why the defense were highlighting that. Morgan Paddock was a friend of Mindi. She was up next. I will admit, her testimony was emotional, yes, but I didn't get much from it. If you guys that did watch the trial, maybe you may have got something from it. Let me know in the chat if you did get something from it. But I didn't really get much. It was just a regurgitation, a rehashing, not a regurgitation. Let me call it a rehashing of what we've already heard from the parents about Nick and Mindi, telling them that their lives was in danger, and that was basically the essence of her testimony. And on cross-examination, Doug basically said that she testified that Mindi had told her that they had to communicate through the Signal app and she was in fear for her life. That was the essence of that testimony. There was no redirect after this. And yeah, so I missed some of this guy's testimony this morning. Honestly, it was honestly, for a technical testimony, it was probably the most interesting. Maybe that's just me, because I've always had an interest in wildlife and insects and animals. Maybe that's why it was interesting for me. But it was probably the most interesting compared to other testimonies like the toxicologist Michelle Shepard, for example. Hers was a snooze fest, in my opinion. But that's just trials. But I did manage to get a bit of information from her testimony in regards to the likelihood of getting DNA. But the fact that she was not able to find DNA to be tested on from the tubs that was being tested was key, because they are teasing these tubs a lot. So maybe we get to see something in regards to the tubs coming up. But anyway, so that was the bulk of Morgan Paddock's testimony. Now, this is the main event, in my opinion. So, Morgan Paddock. This is Morgan Paddock, and now let's go into Samantha Kolesnik, who is Nicholas' third wife. Gosh, this testimony was so damning. My jaw was on the floor. I did not know what to think because she introduced herself and she basically was saying that she was living in Lancaster County at the time, and she oh god, it was damning. Like Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. She testified that she was a writer of fiction in the horror genre, and she also explains that what pen names meant, which was making names to go with books. Last time I heard about this was J.K. Rowling having to make a name as a man to go through in her career as a writer. That's probably the only time I've heard of pen names being, but I didn't know it can cross over into where you use it legally. But anyway, she gave testimony that when Nicholas had basically introduced himself to her, he had introduced himself as Nicholas Stark. Let's go to that testimony right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't say stop by because it's quite out of the way. He said yes, he was driving from Georgia to Missouri because he had something for work that he had to do. And he was driving because he had his dog with him, named Rusty, just a big dog, and I'm sorry, I don't know the breed. And then he said that he would love to meet me and he would drive, since he was already on the road, from Missouri to Pennsylvania. I did push back and say that's a big drive. I don't know, that's a lot of expectation. You know, it feels like when somebody drives that long of a distance, and he, paraphrasing here, he basically said, I'm gonna, drive out to see you, and I want to meet you, and if you don't like me, I'll just drive back. He made it very, he persisted and made it very like low pressure from my point of view.
Yeah, I forgot to say that as well. Thanks for reminding. Well, it just came back into my head. She came in crying. She absolutely came in crying after this. I'm sorry, before this. So it was completely. I was like, wow. So I think that's gonna have a bit of impact on the jury, and this witness, in my opinion, probably left such an impression for the jury that it's gonna need an almighty of a defense to kind of overcome a lot of her testimony. In my opinion, I thought that the parents' testimony may have helped the defense a little bit in showing that he had to lie, but her testimony really gave such an image. Anyway, let's continue on.
Would it be fair to say you had met him at the end of September? How long, I say met, online?
Talked online.
How long had it been since you started talking to him to when he came to your place? December 16th, approximately.
I'm not sure I understand. That was the time frame. So he started talking to me online, Twitter direct messages in September, and then the first time that I ever met him in person was December 16th.
Okay, so about 2 months status.
Let me just move on, because there is a part that I want
Yes, I was, and I had, even asked him, about that, and said that I was concerned because I was newly single and, living basically alone, and he had provided some documentation to me, I think, to kind of comfort me and assure me that he was who he said he was. He sent selfies, he sent some other documents as well, just to verify his identity, and it did comfort me that I thought he was who he said he was.
She gave testimony in regards to meeting for the first time in December 16, 2023.
Did you ask for his driver's license?
Yes, I did.
Did he send it?
Yes.
Did you ask for something from his employment?
I did at one point, but I did not ask for that then. I asked for that later. Yep.
Did you ultimately receive both the driver's license and his employment verification, for lack of a better way to phrase that?
Yes, I received a copy of his driver's license, which said Nicholas Stark on it, like a photocopy. I received an employment verification letter from the company he said he was working at. Should I say the other things that I received
Let's
to
just stop there
verify?
for a moment.
Okay.
I'm gonna approach Your Honor, if that's okay, and show the witness what I have physically marked as 1.84 and 1.86.
I thought that this testimony was devastating because it just, I mean, if you want to argue that someone else is doing this, then you have to argue someone has stolen your identity. And for some reason, you've changed your name to Nicholas Stark. There's so much, there is just so much to unpack from this testimony, to be honest.
You will have a copy here. You'll be able to also see them on the screen.
Should I look at them?
Yes,
or-
please do.
Okay.
Do you recognize 1.84, the first document I handed you?
Yes.
What do you recognize that to be?
This would be the employment verification letter from the company he said he was working at.
Okay. And is that a exact duplicate of the document that you received? Just a copy?
I believe so, yes.
At this time, I'd seek to tender 1.84.
No objection.
And 1.86, the next document in your hand, do you recognize that?
Yes.
What do you recognize that to be?
This is a photocopy of his driver's license, which says Nicholas Killian Stark on it.
Killian.
And what state is that from?
Georgia.
And do you recognize that to be the document that he sent you of his driver's license?
Yes.
At this time, I'd seek to tender 1.86 as well.
Any objection? It is admitted.
She was not gullible. Out of all of them, she was the only one that actually
1.84.
You may.
was like, yo, this could be bad. This could be horrible for me. Let me do this, let me do that. And it kind of shows, this is why I brought in,
Does that reference a
I'll-
company name of Apis?
I'll go into it a bit later.
APIS?
Yes.
And if I scroll to the bottom here, does it indicate also when Mr. Stark began working at Apis Limited?
Yes.
And when was that?
It says February 12th, 2018.
Does it also indicate to you an email address at the very bottom where you could contact if there were questions?
Yes.
And what was the at portion of that?
apislimited.com.
I'm now going to turn your attention to the driver's license. If we can probably turn it off in between. Thank you.
I feel so bad for
Now
her.
publishing one.
I feel so bad for her, if I'm being honest.
One moment. There you go.
Let me just fast forward this a little.
The driver's license you received,
Yes.
and that was a name of Nicholas Killian Stark on there, correct?
Yes.
Does it say the expiration date on that top right side?
Yes, it says June 3rd, 2030.
And was that a photograph of Mr. Stark?
Yes.
As you knew him?
Yep. Yes.
Thank you.
So we know that when these guys met up, it was definitely him, and it was definitely his identification that he sent to her to kind of convince her that he was this real person from the incident that he just met. Outrageous, in my opinion, impeccable strategy to be quite fair in the ordering of the witnesses to even arrive at this, because there is shock value definitely here. If you had any doubts with the parents in regards to, they may have just believed Mindi alone. The fact that he was able to convince her this thoroughly, that theory might not hold up anymore. Because if you had a theory that Mindi was the one, because the defense was trying to highlight that a lot in their testimony, that Mindi did this, Mindi was the one that messaged you, Mindi was the one here, all of those things. It was Mindi, and they try to show that. So if the jury had any doubt in regards to who did that, now we're seeing him on his own, no Mindi, doing this to this woman. Very good strategy, in my opinion. She also gave testimony that Mindi was that Stark, Nicholas Stark, had told her that Mindi had essentially died. Let's listen.
And name was that Nick Moorfox?
Yeah, I believe he had the pen name Nick Moorfox that he published short fiction under.
Okay.
That was like his author pen name.
Do you know if he had changed his name in any other way?
No,
Those are the only two names that you.
that's correct. I mean, he had the other username KJ Stark, but he told me his he had two middle, like Killian James was like his full, yeah. So I just assumed that was the KJ Stark.
So
But-
there is a Reddit page that went through all of this. I'm not gonna go through that Reddit page at all from this trial catch-up because I don't think it's gonna get brought in. But apparently he wrote stories about how he would kill his wife basically. So that is the law around Reddit.
No, he never told me he had another last name different than Stark.
Did you ever know the name Nicholas James Kassotis?
No.
Now, you indicated that at the time, you were in the process of a divorce. You'd already been separated. Did you know Mr. Stark's marital status?
I believed I had. He told me that he was a widower, and that he had lost his wife and his unborn child about 2 years prior, and that they had both died in a hospital.
And he told you that when?
He told me that he first referenced that his wife had passed away in October of 2022 in Twitter direct messages.
October 2022, his wife has passed away. I'll be honest, this testimony a bit helps the defense in regards to the fact that Nick was lying and Nick was being lied to and Nick was lying to protect his identity. However, I will say it helps the prosecution a lot more, in my opinion, because they didn't present this theory of the case, but it's the inference that I got from it that Nick was already planning to kill her and was moving on to a new partner. I got that inference. They didn't really say that he was explicitly planning to kill her while trying to get a new partner or do all those things. He just said he killed her and then got a new relationship magically. So that was the theory of the case from the prosecution, and I believe he goes to proving their theory, and it looks like motive. It looks like it, not motive, but let me not say motive, but it just looks like there is a forethought here that he just wants rid of the old wife. And if we're to take his story seriously, if we're to take what he said seriously, the wife was sick anyway, so he just won her out of the way, and they say, yeah, she's dead. So by him doing that, really bad form.
He told you that in October of 2022.
Yes, on Twitter in the direct messages.
Did you subsequently determine that that was not correct? Meaning, did you find out from law enforcement that that was not the case?
Oh, I found out from law enforcement that was not the case on the date of his arrest, and that was not until May 2023.
That's all the testimony that I wanted from that. And geez, what a way to even find out about all of that. Then we heard testimony in regards to the first time that he was DMing her, and this was in September 24th, 2022, and was very well aware that she was going through a divorce. So it seems to me that this was somebody who was picking an easy target, in my opinion, and it makes sense why she would actually get married to him really quickly, because at this point you can imagine that he was just love bombing her. So the day of the marriage, from what I remember, was 4th of April 2021. I don't think it was finalized until 23rd of April, but definitely 4th of April. I saw testimony regarding to that, and we're gonna get to that. So that was the date of the marriage. So he dove into his DM, into her DMs, and was talking about a book, and they highlight. Let me go to the part where they highlighted the wife's death, because it's quite a long testimony, but that was the message here, and this is where it says here, I believe this was on October 22nd. You know what? Let's just watch as they went through bit by bit of how he was highlighting the wife's death.
And as a result, did you respond?
Yes, I did. I wouldn't.
So he
There-
went through the
gray
DM. This is the
writing
wife's death.
And the pink writing that is displayed on the screen. Who is the gray writing?
The gray writing is Nick.
And the pink?
That's me.
Okay. And just, if we could look specifically at this first paragraph.
Yes.
Does he reference there specifically about losing his wife?
Yes, he does.
Okay, so if I were to read the line, in the last 3 years, I moved a couple times, learned pretty much everything I thought about myself was not true, and had my wife pass away. Is this what you were referring to?
Yes.
And
I learned everything that I learned as for myself was not true, and my wife had passed
when
away.
was this ultimately received by you?
October 18th, 2022.
And
Wild.
at that time, did you believe his wife was dead?
Yes.
I want to go back and read that message again, because he says feeling like working 24. Wait, let me just go back here. And it says it says here, I hope it goes well. I know moving, especially in the context of life upheaval, sometimes feeling overwhelming and stressful. Think moving feels like that always, but add in other stuff and it's even worse in the last 3 years. So he is referencing the moment of his life that he was moving around, and there's no mention. This is the very key part of this. There is no mention of Jim McIntyre. Where did Jim McIntyre go? This is the part that I believe the defense case is starting to unravel, in my opinion, before it even began. It's starting to kind of fall apart. I will obviously keep my mind open, as I always do, to hear what they have to say, but it's very, very hard for me to believe that Nick is living in fear, and yet there's no mention of why he was moving. I wish he asked, but it's not really her point to ask or anything like that, because people can move for various reasons. I think she said that he was moving for work reasons or something like that. But there's no. But what I'm trying to say is that, did Jim McIntyre just put you up to speaking with her and you having to? I'm being silly. Don't take me seriously. But it's just when you read this, it just makes it absurd that there is a theory that someone was after your life. So this was on October 18th. Oh gosh, I lost it. I pressed the wrong button there. Let me go to October 22nd, where he also said that the wife had definitely passed away.
Complications and possibly an undiagnosed heart condition.
Here we go.
Initially,
Yes.
Sorry, let me move back a little bit.
that she had
Okay,
passed.
there we go.
Any kind of romantic relationship with anybody.
Did you know if he had another wife that preceded the wife you just referenced?
No.
So Jim never told her about his first wife that apparently he owes 1.5 million in divorce, and I'm guessing we're gonna hear from her as well.
At that time, you thought that the only time he'd been married was to the woman he described on October 18th?
Yes.
Okay. Did he say how she died initially?
Yes, he said that she died in a hospital and that blood pressure complications and possibly an undiagnosed heart condition as well.
I'm now showing you the next slide. That would be 1.95. Can you read us that paragraph starting she had?
She had an undiagnosed heart issue that was aggravated by her pregnancy, very sudden change in the way I thought life would look, but doing my best now to figure it out.
This is the same lie he told the parents, but now you're saying the same thing. The parents, remember, he was lying to protect Mindi, and that was the parents. But now you're telling it to someone that you are supposedly just having a fling with. That's something really key here to see how this testimony is really putting to bed any thoughts of Jim McIntyre.
Told you that in this tweet?
In this private message, yep, on Twitter,
What day did he tell you that?
October 22nd, 2022.
Did you know that his current wife was alive on that date at that time?
I'll do that now. 1 second.
And he described it as a very sudden change. Is that right?
Yes, that's
Is that
correct.
better? Let me know if that's better.
Did he
chat.
mention if they had children? Other than that she was pregnant when she passed?
No other children, just that she was pregnant and that.
Let me know
that
if that's better,
She
chat.
lost he lost both her and the unborn child, is what he told me, and that he had no other children. No.
Okay. Did him telling you that his wife had passed impact your trust of Mr. Stark?
It definitely impacted me. It made me feel very sad and bad for him, because that's a terrible thing that
All right.
could happen to somebody, you know, to lose your wife and an unborn child. That's how I felt at the
Glad.
time. I felt
Glad.
bad for him.
Okay.
Thank you. I
Did you
appreciate
convey that to him?
Yes, I felt empathy, because that's when I thought he had lost his wife and unborn child.
Did that also facilitate you continuing to chat with him?
I did continue to chat with him, yes.
And did that then
Sorry.
progress to that more flirtatious and romantic stage that you described for the jury?
I would say more like emotional at first, because I had lost somebody close to me too, you know, I thought too at the time. So more emotional, and then yeah, eventually flirtatious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, at some
I don't know how the jury does not look at this and be like, and you know, but I hope that I hope that they are keeping an open mind, but I do think that this testimony is really impactful. But yeah, that I wanted to go through that because this was on the 22nd that she apparently had said that he apparently had told her that the wife was dead. And then they went through more testimony going back to the fact that he was working. I'm not going to go through that testimony because I just wanted to show this testimony to show how it aids the state's theory in premeditation a lot. They don't have to prove premeditation per se. They can, like we went through on day one, they can prove it that it can be formed at that moment. And in my opinion, the fact that the body was dismembered and all that, you pretty much have the premeditation as well, from my understanding, from what we went through on day one. But anyway, she went on to testify that he was working in Delaware for working on a merger and acquisition for the company that he was at. So there's no Microsoft now. There's no Microsoft working on a software for Microsoft. It's now mergers and acquisition. And he was also staying in Airbnbs at the time. This was around this was around the time of November when they were talking. She also testified that he told her on the 5th of November 2025 that he was going on a road trip. If we remember, he bought the shovel on the 4th of November, and he also bought the knife. I don't want to get this date wrong. I believe it was sometime in August, and then he bought the shovel and all of that on the 4th of November 2022. So that was the timeline to just to put it into perspective. And she also testified about on Twitter on the 5th of November about using pods to move items around, to move clothes and all of that around. She also said that he told her that he was abused when he was younger, that he was adopted, and he doesn't know his real he doesn't know his biological parents or something like that. He does know his biological parents. His biological parents was Edward Williams. That was the father, and Susan was his biological mother. That was what he was telling her. And she also testified that they got married really quickly, and she gave testimony in regards to how quick that got. I want to go to that really, really quickly and that's just my personal preference, because I'm a soft spot for not a soft spot because that makes me sound a bit weird, but I have a keen interest in how these relationships like this develop that turn out to be in this case, it's not abusive, but you can say that committing fraud on somebody like this can be labeled as abusive in one way or the other. So that was the marriage license application that they've done.
Submitted.
Can we please publish that? Thank you. And does that reference your names at the top of that?
Yes.
And was it required to indicate how many marriages this was for you?
Yes.
And does it indicate how many it was for Mr. Stark?
Hey,
Yes.
Lexi, welcome.
And what was that?
He wrote that it was his second.
Did he indicate how his last marriage ended?
Yes.
And how was that?
Death,
And did he give a date of her death?
December 1st, 2020.
And this was issued when?
April 13th, 2023.
I will give you a story. Because trial channel, it says, I think it's extremely quick. You don't know how a person that well after a few months. I was married back in 2018, and my marriage lasted for not long. It got annulled, but we were basically married and engaged in 4 weeks. 4 weeks, I would say. We started talking online after meeting through a church group, and that's basically it. That's basically what happened, and we were pretty much engaged by the 4th week, and all that was left was to make it official, and that took 2-3 months, I think it was, because it was April, then August was when it was official, and in September in October we had an annulment, and that was basically it. So that was my experience in regards to having a really quick, I do have to agree with you. You don't know a person that well after a few months, but I've had friends that that married after 5 days. She told me after 5 days, and they're now celebrating their 15th year of marriage or something like that, and have many kids. So there's no rules to this, but I think in this situation it's hella weird. It's hella weird because I did not call myself Tony Stark. Oh, Lord.
Did it reference the names of his parents?
Yes, this is who he said were his biological parents. Edward Williams as his father, living in the UK, and Susan Fox living in California as his mother.
Did you understand that to be who he claimed were which parents, the adopted or the biological?
Biological parents that he had connected with and found out, later in life, as an adult. That's who I thought they were.
Does this also reflect the date that it was initially filed?
Yes, April 10th, 2023.
And did both you and Mr. Stark have to sign that document?
Yes.
And did you?
Yes.
Those are both of your signatures?
Yes.
Okay. And that, of course, is your name also at the top, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Once you know, you know. Once you know, you know.
Now,
That's all I can say.
Did you subsequently
Even though I've been
actually
through
get
that.
married?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that was also sometime in April?
Yes, that was in April 2023, I believe, late April.
Okay. And prior to getting married, did you and Mr. Stark discuss your living arrangements? What
Yes.
you're going to do after you got married?
Yes.
Okay. What was the plan?
He was going to move to PA and he wanted to buy a house, and then he said that we would both live in that house together. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And as a result of that, who was going to pay for the house?
Nick Stark.
So this is building a lot, but the reason why I wanted to point that out is because on March 20th, 2023, they went to the property and she testified that he had a Ford Explorer, a green US SUV. So again, this goes into the whole. It just proves the prosecution theory of the case that he was still using this car after the death. So it's not like the car just suddenly went up in flames or anything like that when he disposed of the body, but he continued using it. So that's how I think this testimony helped. And she also gave testimony in regards to the car going up in flames and what had essentially had happened. Let's listen.
His way to the.
I might have gotten through. That's such a strange message to ever receive. But so then I'm like calling him frantically, and I didn't get through to him. I might have gotten through to him for a second, and then he like handed the phone off. But then I talked to a paramedic or an EMT, some kind of like medical professional.
Was at the scene with him?
Yes, correct.
Okay. At that point, you said that he had been on his way to the bank. Is that right?
That's what he told. He said he had to run like some errands and also pick up the cashier's check, registered check from the bank, from Citizens Bank. Yeah.
Did you know how much the check was for?
I do not remember the exact amount, but I can tell you it was something like, it was a large amount. It was $800,000, I want to say, or 850. It was a very large amount of money. Yeah.
Okay.
This
Yep.
is not helping
you're-
the fact that you had no money and you were living in fear and you're waiting on money, because that was the defense theory of the case, that he was waiting on money from Jim. This is not helping.
Your understanding that he was picking up the check and that he had been involved in a car fire of some sort.
Car accident is what I was thinking at
You
that
thought
time.
car accident, okay.
Because even reading I was like, I couldn't really fathom what had actually happened,
Right.
But yes, some kind of car incident.
Did you know if the car was new?
Congrats.
I think it was pretty new. I don't think it was an old car.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at that point, did he go to the hospital?
So that's something, I asked the EMT or the paramedic, and I said, is he going to the hospital? Like what hospital can I meet him at? Those kinds of things. And she said, he doesn't want to go to the hospital. And I said, but are you, like, should he? Is he okay? I was asking like those kind of caring, concern questions. And I still didn't really grasp. I didn't grasp what had happened to the car or how like severe it was, because I remember asking the paramedic or the EMT. I said, "Can you make sure, he gets all of his things out of the car?" And she kind of, I don't want to say chuckled. It wasn't like she was amused, but she was just like, "I can try, but I don't think there's anything left in that car." And hearing that, I still was like a little bit confused. I didn't understand the scope. And then, I asked, are you sure he's okay to not go to the hospital? And she said, well, he doesn't want to go. Like, we can't, yeah, he just wants to go back to you or whatever, or home,
When he got home, did you take him to the hospital?
Yes, I insisted on taking him to the hospital. I was concerned about him.
Why?
Well, when he walked through the door of the Airbnb, he was like crying a little. He was shaking. He had some he looked a little burned, like on his face, like he was missing, I want to say like half an eyebrow. Like
Okay.
he had, yeah.
Okay. As a result, I'm going to show you 1.91. At this time, Your Honor, I would like to introduce that exhibit 1.91, I believe.
No objection, Your Honor. All right, it's admitted without objection.
I'm going to publish it.
Wow, indeed.
Did that reflect the admission date on it right there?
20th of March.
Yes, March 20th, 2023. Yep.
That, in my opinion, was a very damning testimony for Nick, because apparently he was going to the hospital and was driving around for hours, and then this car went up into flames and burned all the money down. And she also testified that they had planned to get pregnant as well. And the fact that he even went to the hospital and there was minimal injuries, from what she described, only the eyebrow was cut off, and he had been to the hospital, and all she had was, usually you might see a picture of you in the hospital gown, you might see a picture of you like going like that, I'm fine, or but it's just that. So I believe he went. I have no cause to not believe he went, because he just sent the picture of the thing. But at the same time, I'm going by the state theory of the case and how they are presenting it. It seems like from the fact that he could falsify his driving not falsify. Let me change that. He could give a different name on the driving license, because I do know you can change your name. But if there is more testimony that he had multiple licenses, this is clearly showing. Do we lose sound? Have we lost sound? Can you hear me? I hope we haven't lost sound, but it's on pause. But okay, cool. But what was I saying? Damn, what was I saying? Going back, yeah. So because we have already seen the state showing that he had basically changed his name on the driver's license. If we hear more testimony in regards to more licenses or more identification going by different names, then I am inclined to believe that this is likely fake, that he has ways of getting these things done. Hello, shout out to you, young black economist, welcome. I don't want to go into a conspiracy theory. I don't want to go into that. It's just my opinion, but I just don't want to go into that. I want to take this for face value for what it is. Yes, he did go into hospital. I just find it weird that you just send only the tag and not, you in the hospital bed, just something. That's what I'm saying. But she did speak to an EMT, so I have no cause to believe that this is fake. I have no cause. And this is why this is why I said earlier that they should have probably asked the question to the family, to the mom and the dad, or either one of them, if Nick had ever taken their email addresses, because at least then we can get the idea that he was orchestrating all of this. But now, yeah. Anyway, let me continue on. So she did give testimony that the marriage was annulled. Let's listen to that testimony here.
I wanted to investigation because I got them shipped. Tried to, after learning that, I tried to be as helpful as I could be.
This was when she
because
learned.
I was horrified.
This was when she learned that Mindi was dead.
Asked if they needed anything of his belongings, and they requested some of those, and I had them shipped to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. And then I also like his laptops, his phones, and when I say laptops and phones, because he had one for work, one for personal, and then I also started looking messages, emails, anything that I thought the Georgia Bureau of Investigation might want to see. It was just, I was still in shock, but I knew that I wanted to be helpful because what I was hearing was so horrifying and I had no idea. And so I was trying to be as helpful in those immediate days as I could be.
What did you do about your marriage?
I wanted it annulled because I felt like the marriage and everything in the marriage was not consensual because of his fraud, and I wanted it annulled. And annulment in Pennsylvania is very difficult. It's very, very rigid.
Been through that.
About the requirements to get an annulment. It has to be fraud, or like some very specific other things. So it was very hard to get a lawyer who would actually even pursue it, but I did get one, and we filed for an annulment and a divorce at the same time in case the annulment wouldn't go through. There are not a lot of annulments in Pennsylvania, to my understanding. And then I had to wait several months before we could go to a hearing, and we went to a hearing at a court of common pleas in Pennsylvania. And
did you get an annulment?
And the judge in Pennsylvania granted my annulment on the basis of his fraud. And so that was that's very rare in Pennsylvania that they do that. So the marriage was declared null and void because he committed fraud against me.
Do you know whatever happened to the house that you were supposed to buy?
I have no idea.
Did you ever buy it?
No.
Did you ever move into a house that he purchased?
No.
Did you ever see that check that was supposed to be picked up?
No, he said the check burned in the car fire. The cashier's check. Yeah.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Weinstein, cross-examination.
Before we go into the cross-examination, that was the way that just ended in regards to the annulment, getting granted on the grounds of fraud. I believe this was what maybe they were trying to put out from what we went through on day one regarding the documents that was presented, the arguments that was made by the defense in regards to prior bad acts. I think that maybe that's what they were trying to put out, but as we've seen, maybe the judge deemed it was relevant due to the circumstances. Maybe that that come in, but now we have it on record that he was found that the marriage had to be ended because it was fraudulent, basically, that it had to be annulled. That doesn't look good. In my opinion, the jury might infer heavily on that that he was actually committing fraud by making up this person going by the name of Jim McIntyre, and whatever check that was may have belonged to Mindi. I would not be surprised if the state makes that argument on their closing arguments. But anyway, let's listen to this cross.
Good morning, Ms. Kolesnik. I'm Doug Weinstein. I represent Nick Kassotis. I just have a question for you about the down payment on the home. Do you recall Nick Kissotis putting a $50,000 down payment on that house?
He said he did, yes.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Anything else?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. You're excused.
That was a whole pack of that shocked me. That completely shocked me. I was like, what the hell? What the hell? And the thing is, like I said, I've been in love with Doug Weinstein's crosses so far, but that shocked me. I'm not gonna say what I'm thinking, but I want to know why he would ask in regards to the down payment. He said that Nick Kassotis was the one that paid for that down payment. And he used the word Nick Kassotis. So, is that... No, that's literally it. That's literally... I can't believe that's all it... That was it. So, if Nick Kassotis paid for a down payment in Nick Kassotis' name, and he was the one that done it, and we haven't seen any documents in regards to this down payment being paid, I really want to see the defense case now, because they didn't even try to contend this. I don't know why. Trial strategy, I don't know much about it. I am a layman. I am not that stage of my life yet where I have gone gone to school to study law. I haven't done that part of my life yet, so I don't know much about trial strategy. Perhaps they are planting these seeds for the witnesses that are gonna come up from the state, and more is going to be unraveled. Maybe that's the case. I don't know, but I felt that they should have gone into a bit of the history that they met. Try and give a bit more context to what was going on there. Try and give a bit more context to what was going on with the wife, because it's not looking good at the moment. But I was very stunned. I was very stunned by that cross-examination. I thought there was no cleanup. And it was just for a down payment. So, in my opinion, the defense are definitely going to... Definitely, Queen Olive says, I wonder if he's going to testify. I'm thinking he's going to have to. I believe, based on what we're seeing so far, I think he is. If he's not planning to testify, I would wonder why on earth you would let this witness leave in this manner. Like, that just doesn't... It doesn't make sense to me. Like, all of these things just come out, and he is just letting all of these things be on record without any reputation, without any contest or anything like that. So it's either they have a lot of things to counter that narrative on their defense and he's going to testify, or they have their own witnesses to bring in to kind of show their case. So if you haven't hit that like button, just a reminder, please hit that like button. It really helps us out with the YouTube algorithm. Don't forget to share this with your friends, everyone that you know, and let them know that you can catch up on cases here. Don't forget to subscribe as well. Do not forget to hit that subscribe button. You can find a lot more of our trial recaps on the video section, where we go through the whole trial from cases, and we bring you the catch up. So you can also find more trial recaps there. Let's move on to the last witness for the day, and this was Tracy Sands. He basically gave testimony that he was with Agent James when and we heard from Agent James, who was the one that gave testimony regarding the purchases of the shovel and the Home Depot, all of those things. Thanks for joining, Young Black Economist. I appreciate you. See you around as well. He also introduced himself in that interview that they were there to talk about Mindi's death. So it's not as if he didn't know, or he just basically he just basically was introduced that that they know about Mindi's death, and they just want to talk to him about it. So the audio, so the interview was being played in regards to in regards to all of this, and the audio came out. That Nicholas, or at least Nicholas Stark, that he started calling himself Nicholas Stark. He actually called himself Nicholas Stark to the investigator, and he said that he started moving from 2018 from Alexandria to Charlottesville because he had received anonymous emails that their lives were in danger, and he reported it to the FBI. The FBI, by the way, not law enforcement. He also gave testimony that Wayne, who is the name of the father, the biological father that he used, who is the name of the biological father that he used, that he was the one that told him that he was working for the FBI, and Jim McIntyre was working for Microsoft. He also said that he didn't know that when he was discharged from the Navy, when he was asked this question as well. And to me, I don't know much about vets, but I feel like there's just some things that you would know. Is like going to a hospital, for example. You would know when you would roughly know when you got discharged from hospital. You just won't. It's just something that you just won't forget. It's like you will know when you got divorced. You will know when It's like one of those facts. He also testified on working on a piece of software on the advice from an advisor. I'm guessing this was Jim McIntyre. He says that the person that was advising him was Jim McIntyre, but he said he had lied to him multiple times, that he doesn't even know if it was true. But apparently he was working on this software for Jim McIntyre. They asked him if he got paid for this work. I believe they asked him if he got paid for this work, or maybe I'm assuming there. I don't think they did, but he never got paid for any of this work. He also said that Mindi was pregnant in July 2021, and he says that Mindi was bleeding, which kind of suggests that she had a miscarriage, and they went to the hospital, and she says, and he basically said that Mindi should not tell the parents that she had a miscarriage, that she should continue telling the parents that the pregnancy is fine, all those things is fine, that she should continue. Don't bring panic to them. So I felt that like that part of the interview was, in my opinion, really it undermined its credibility even more, because why would you need to hide this part from the parents? Like, why would this has nothing to do with your life being in danger? I get that you're lying to people around you to keep your family safe and protect them, but why would you need to lie to the parents that to keep the pregnancy going, that you didn't have the miscarriage? So that's the part that I felt was a bit weird to me, and maybe they have a bit more evidence in regards to this. She also says that Jim had told him that there was a change of plans and to travel to Missouri, and says that he had told them to contact and this is Jim McIntyre, by the way, that he had told him to that he has to contact him before they make any movements, basically. and he says that Jim was driving a white SUV, and there were other people with him when he was doing all of these things, and this was around the time of August and September 2020. He also details what had happened. All of this was by audio recording, by the way, so we don't we don't know what he looked like. We don't know what was the whole scene was like anyway. And this was the part that I found interesting. He says he also details what happened to the wife at the hospital, saying that he was told that they told him that they would get her blood pressure under control, and how they had been looking for a place to stay. They were looking for a place to make a payment. Oh, sorry, not a place to make a payment. Sorry, they were looking for a place to basically live, where there was no stairs, and they were and this was because of the injury to Nick's father, to Mindi's father. We heard testimony from Frank in regards to his hip replacement surgery on the 30th of November. I think that this is key, because I think that this could be why wife Doug Weinstein basically asked Samantha, the ex-wife, why he asked her whether there was a down payment on the house that was paid by Nick. I think this part of the I think that part of the testimony was referenced here, or there was a seed planted for that part. So so I felt like that part was really important. Was really important testimony. He also says that around Thanksgiving, when Mindi was in hospital, he says that he got a call to go and pick her up on Thursday, and was given an address. They told him that Mindi had passed away, and he says that the doctor had a lab coat. I'm gonna go to this part because what he said here, I thought was, I don't think it helped his case.
Okay, with a lot of people, rather than it being like another company that knows where that we're still getting food delivered there. So,
Another avenue for them to use to find.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you drop the containers off.
Drop the containers off either Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
I continued talking with Mindi through Wednesday.
You said your phones were off and you used the GPS. You know what that GPS is now?
I believe it was burned with the rest of my car about a month and a half ago.
Okay. So you continue talking to her till Wednesday?
Yeah, Wednesday. Just messaging back and forth. She said she was feeling better, and Thursday morning I got a call from somebody saying, could I come pick her up that sometime that afternoon. I forget exactly what time.
Okay.
I was given an address in Savannah. I don't recall exactly where it was. I drove out there that afternoon. It was a brick building. Somebody was waiting outside and brought me into, like an office, and said that Mindi had passed away.
Okay. You said it's a brick building?
Yeah.
How far away from the house was it?
I think within 15-20 minutes.
Okay.
But I think it was driving through like some neighborhoods, like it wasn't like quick going.
So they brought you in, Did you talk to the doctor or?
I talked to a doctor. I was wearing a white coat.
So white coat.
An older man. Not anybody I had seen before.
And they said she passed from what?
At that point, he said that she just passed away very suddenly, and that they thought it might have been her heart, but they weren't sure.
Okay.
I went back to the house and told Betsy and Frank.
None of this made sense in my I'm glad you said it. Because what do you mean you were told it could have been something to do with her heart? What do you mean it could have been something to do with her heart? You wouldn't, if someone dies, you would literally you'll be told he died of a stroke, he died of a heart attack. But something to do with her heart and I don't get it. I don't get it. But he never saw the wife, so there's that. He also testified that he went to St. Louis to change his name to Nicholas Killian James Stark. Let's listen to that interview here. I'm trying to speed this up as quick as possible because I don't want to leave this stream for too long, so that you guys can catch up easier.
Okay. And then what happened?
I drove to St. Louis per Jim's instructions.
Had you told Jim that she had passed away? That he passed?
Yes, I had.
Why did you tell that she had passed? And then mother and father?
Mother and father, they told her brothers, her best friend,
Who's that?
Angela Wynn,
Okay.
a former co-worker of hers, Elizabeth Seeger.
Okay. You said best friend. Who was that?
Angela Wynn.
I didn't write that down fast enough. You
No,
said it.
that's okay. Yeah, he was kind of hard to get in touch with.
Joe West.
Yeah.
Okay. Who else?
I forget. David John, I think is his name.
So now he's giving the names of the other agents that was apparently working in concert with Jim McIntyre. But, but the part I want to get to was the St. Louis part.
And what did you change your name to?
Nicholas Killian James Stark.
No. And what did you change your name to? Okay. And so then, after you left Montgomery, you said you went to
St. Louis.
St. Louis.
Yeah.
What did you do in St. Louis?
Filed for a legal change of name.
Okay. And what did you change your name to?
Nicholas Killian James Stark.
And that's what we put on the
Yeah.
form, okay? Okay. And
We picked out that last name together. We had been given a list of choices from Jim,
okay.
what he thought were
So he's
fairly anonymous, one-syllable names. And
How can I get in touch with Jim?
I don't know.
Okay. How would you get in touch with him?
He would message me daily, and I would respond. His number would change, and then I would just switch to the new number.
I mean, because you said you changed phones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So how, when you get out, how are you going to get in touch with Jim, I guess?
I don't know.
So bizarre, bizarre things here, because from the context of this testimony, it seems like the name change was Jim's McIntyre's idea. That's what it's inferring to here a lot, and also the fact that Nicholas will be the one reaching out to him, and he doesn't know either way, is kind of backed up with what the parents were talking about all these agents reaching out to them. I don't think it's so. It just sounds bizarre. All of a sudden, he doesn't know how to get in contact with Jim. What I call a quinky dink. It just sounds weird. But on February 2023, he says that Jim told him that there was something suspicious going on. Let's go into that. And this was before the car was in flames. Apparently, he received a warning from Jim,
which led me to stop talking to Betsy and Frank. We had a conversation, and I had mentioned that I was in Wilmington, and several nights later, I was unpacking some things into the place I was staying. This was in February. And came down, and somebody was in the car. Grabbed a backpack with 2 computers and a phone in it, and took off.
So 2 computers and a phone.
Yeah.
So now he alleges that there was tampering with the car because somebody was in it with 2 computers and a phone, and then he says that and I thought this part, because then he must have documents. But he says that the insurance company thought that it was a mechanical fault with the car, which is why he went up in flames. And he basically says what was regurgitated to he basically says what was regurgitated on the first day with the salesperson, that Ford had recalls in 2024. He basically said that there was multiple recalls of a Ford Explorer in 2020, and this is, to be honest, this is the part that kind of doesn't make sense to me, because it came out that there was a 2024 headline in regards, if we went through it in day 3, but this was regarding that recall part, and that's what was not making sense to me. Let me go and play it.
We went to the emergency room later that day, and hair inside my nostrils. That's a sign that fire has come down the throat, and
the hair on his nostrils caught fire, by the way, guys. Let me go to a point.
That last year's Ford Explorers had some fire issues. So that last year's Ford Explorers had some fire, which is something that did raise my suspicion. I don't know what caused the fire. It was in the same area that the bag was stolen from, which is something that did raise my suspicion, but at the same time, that last year's Ford Explorers had some fire issues. So
those Ford Explorers?
Yeah, they had multiple recalls.
Okay.
Was
it fire in the engine compartment?
Yeah.
Okay.
The gentleman who towed it, I went out to look at it, and it appeared to be. He said it appeared to have started in the passenger side of the engine block, but he couldn't be, he couldn't be sure.
The driver said passenger side of the engine block.
Yeah. So I've,
What did your insurance company say?
the insurance company seems to think it was mechanical and not tied to that. They just asked at the end of last week for the title so that they could close it out. So
Insurance company said it was a mechanical fault. He says that there was a lot of recalls for the Ford Explorers. This is the thing. We heard testimony, and this is what's not making sense to me. We heard testimony from the salesperson regarding recalls in 2024. That was made. That was Doug Weinstein's play. Then the state responded and said, yeah, there were recalls issued in 2024 regarding the fire, regarding the police interceptor vehicle. Basically, it was in regards to police interceptors and all those things. And I thought it was bizarre that, that there was nothing more that came from that testimony. There was no kind of recross from what I remember. But how would he know that information in 2023? That's what's not clicking, because this interview was done, I believe there was a follow-up interview on the 26th of May 2022. There was the first interview on 11th of May 2022. So I'm guessing the 26th of May interview is going to be played next week. So the Ford Explorer being recalled on 2024, he would not have that message, that press release that the state introduced. Is this some kind of grand play by the defense to even bring that testimony in so that he can force the state's hand to try and attack that early? Because now there's a factual issue here. How did Nicholas know that there was recalls being made to this vehicle? That's what I like to know. Does he have messages? Does he have something from the salesperson that had let him know that there were recalls from this vehicle? How does he know that? Because there is, if the recall was issued after, it means that it wasn't detected yet. That's the point. That's what's boggling my mind in that little piece there. If any juror was paying attention, I'll just put myself in their shoe. That would eat away at me, because I have no idea how he would know that there will be recalls in 2023. Is it a lie? Because they're factually shown that there were recalls in 2024. So how would he know? So that's the only thing that I thought. Okay, maybe this might help this might help the defense with presenting their theory of the case, that he was actually being lied to, or who told him this recall. If it turns out that Jim had told him that there were recalls on the car, how would he know? I don't know. I don't know. I have to wait for evidence to come in. That's just some luck. You gotta think that's a 1 in a million chance. You really gotta consider that, though. How lucky do you have to be to just throw it out there and lie about it, and then it just turns out there were recalls, but it was just for police vehicles? So I don't know where. He must have something. I just think that could be the case. He also says that Jim McIntyre in this case was a white male in his late 40s, 5'10" to 6 foot, very slim, and he gave this description for when he first came to Alexandria. He says that Jim was basically doing all of this for free and offering security for free, all of those things. He says that he had showed up at the house and started talking to Mindi because he was at work. So Mindi was the one that was communicating with Jim, and we know unfortunately that Mindi is dead, so we can't even get any proof of this. He said that he was creating an AI program software and had majored in computer science in college before switching to pre-law. I have never done computer science in my life, never done it. So I don't know the proficiency that you have to get before you can start building software. I don't know how good you have to be, but for you to have that kind of skill set, be a writer as well, writing novels, doing all those things, it seems like a virtuoso. But I don't know. I just feel like just because you went to school for computer science does not necessarily mean that you can start doing all those things. So in my opinion, this is probably one of the lies he was telling to the police. But I don't know why he would lie about something like this. His life is no longer in danger. He's talking to the police now. So I have no idea. He also lets them know that he was married to Samantha, and he was also willing to give him a DNA sample. I think that this part is very key because they have his sample and they were unable to still tie him to the scene DNA wise. So I thought that part, just that part out of the whole testimony, was probably the best evidence for the defense, because he still gave them a DNA sample and they have nothing on him like that could tie him completely to the scene and make it distinctive. He also says that Mindi did advocacy work for ATIS, a plastic bag company, and they had met through an online app. So ATIS apparently had always existed, and it was a company that Mindi had worked for. Whether this is another lie remains to be seen. I have no idea. I'm waiting for the second interview because there was a follow-up interview. They normally do this to see if you keep up with the story that you've already told. So I want to see what he says in that follow-up interview. I'm really interested. I might hear it next week. I don't want to keep this stream too long because we have been here for quite a while, but there was a lot to get through today. There were so many things I wanted to talk about today. I haven't even begun to unpack, so we are going to continue the unpacking next week. But I really hope that you did enjoy this stream. I'm just going to quickly go through, just going to quickly give my final thoughts. I personally think that the defense, they have, like I said, this is akin to a Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney trial. Like, you know, the Turnabout series. If you are into your video games, you probably know what I'm referencing. This is one of those. Look up Ace Attorney Phoenix Wright. Like, it's like this is one of those cases. And the defense, I'm really interested to see what they put on to counter all this, because in all honesty, this is a very strong case that is being put on by the prosecution. They have been careful. They have, I mean, you can maybe argue they were not as thorough as they presented themselves to be. Regardless, though, with this wealth of evidence that is being presented from testimonies and even evidence of fraud, like, you know, changing names, even speaking to this new woman in a new name and acting like the wife is dead. Come on. And before she even died at this point. Come on. I mean, there's a lot. There is a lot here. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I appreciate you. Thanks for catching up with me in regards to the Nicholas Kassotis case. We are going to continue on our daily recap, so we'll see you here again at 6 p.m. Eastern Time to recap on day 5. I'll be bringing all the details from what happened in the courtroom. So if you missed it, or you cannot watch the whole 7 hours, or you just want to hear commentary and you just want to theorize, speak about the case with people and a vibrant chat, make sure that you tune in here. Also, go and check out the trial channel, because what she does is brilliant. Is in my opinion, is genius. She cuts up every testimony so that you can watch it and watch the one that you really need to watch. You can catch up without having to worry about breaks and all of those things. So make sure you go check out our channel. I'll leave it in the description. But anyway, yeah, I appreciate everyone for being here. See you next week. Have a great weekend. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Ketchup Court podcast. Don't forget to like this video, share this video, and subscribe for more legal cases that we cover on this channel. We do nothing but cover legal cases and true crime on here. You can also check out our playlist that we have of all of our content. They're all available in the playlist option. Make sure you go check that out. So make sure that you hurry back and catch up with us. See you on the next one. Bye for now.